And we are very pleased to welcome here a very distinguished panel that is telling us the story why you should be a host of an IEC. And it's my great pleasure to welcome on stage the moderator, Ermine Doğru, advisor to the Ministry of Industry and Technology of Republic of Turkey. Also, Mr. Samadin Asadov. He is now Deputy Minister of Digital Development and Transport of the Republic of Azerbaijan, but you very well know Samadin still as the local organizing committee chair of the IEC 2023 in Baku and the former head of Azercosmos. Then welcome Mr. Arif Karabeyoglu, faculty member, QC University in Istanbul. He is also CEO of Delta V Space Technologies Corporation, and he is the IEC 2026 IPC co-chair. And last but not least, of course, Yusuf Kirac, the chairman of the board and president of the Turkish Space Agency.
Thank you, Christian. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to be here. This beautiful city in Paris. Thank you for having us. I am Emine Doğru, advisor to the Minister of Industry and Technology. Welcome to our session that name, Why Do We Host IAC? As most of you know, IAC 2026 will be in Antalya, one of the most beautiful cities in Turkey. And in the session, we will talk about why do we host IAC. It's a pleasure to introduce our panelists. Mr. Yusuf Kirac, Chairman of the Board and President of Turkish Space Agency. Mr. Samadin Asadov, Chairman of the Board Azercosmos Space Agency of the Republic of Azerbaijan, former, and Vice President of IAF. Mr. Karabeyoğlu, I want to start with you. My question is, with the rapid advancement and shifting dynamics in the global space sector, how do you see Turkey positioning itself in this evolving landscape, and what strategies should it prioritize to strengthen its role?
Wow, that's a long question, if I could remember that. Anyway, so what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to actually try to give you a global perspective of the space field from a Turk's perspective, Turk's eyes, okay? So that's what I'm going to try to do. So we'll talk about global stuff, what's happening, and then we'll give you the Turkish version. I'm going to start with my own expertise, which is essential launch business. So what's happening right now in the launch business is interesting, very interesting. I was in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago. I went to SAT show. It was impressive. The number of constellation projects is amazing. There are so many constellation projects. That's including Starlink, Kuiper, OneWeb. Beyond that, there is more than 100 constellation projects. What happens with that is, essentially, there is a huge hunger for launch vehicles. There is a peak for demand for launch vehicles. As a result of that, there are a lot of launch companies trying to essentially get into this field. Obviously, SpaceX is the big one. That's what's happening. If Starship happens, I think it's going to happen. It's going to change the whole paradigm. The whole paradigm is going to be shifted. Recovering of the second stage is not easy if you ever done re-entry calculations. Recovering a very large surface area, light vehicle is very difficult, but I'm pretty sure they'll eventually succeed with that, with their third, fourth attempt. So that is going to be open up some possibilities. But something else is happening. There are many companies out there trying to build launch services, and they're very successful. That includes Rocket Lab, Firefly. I can give you a lot of names, but I'm not going to do that. So these are good BCD options if you want to do launches with your satellite. As a satellite manufacturer, that's essentially a very good thing for me, okay? So reusability, I'm going to quickly talk about reusability. Reusability is very, very important. In the good old days, we thought that the reusability was cost reasons, but it's really not. The good advantage of reusability is related to essentially frequency. The number of launches you can achieve in a year really depends on your reusability capability. Because as I visited the SpaceX factory over the years, what I realized there is they're not making Merlin engines anymore. not as many of them. They're not making stage 1 tanks anymore. So that actually allows them to make a lot of second stages and launch a lot of rockets, more than 100 rockets a year. So that actually opens up a lot of opportunities. So with that, what we think is happening in the launch businesses, prices are stable. I think they may even come down with Starship. I'm not even talking about India and China. Obviously, great things are happening there as well. But as Turkey, what I am thinking here is we really do need indigenous capability. Okay, so this is very, very important from our perspective. Indigenous capability is essential for your freedom to be able to operate in space, okay? And that indigenous capability has to be done in a cost-effective fashion. You will never be competitive maybe with SpaceX, but if you're low enough in terms of cost, then you can allow your systems to be competitive in the space field, okay? So that's our perspective. So there are 2 launch vehicle projects in Turkey right now. The first one is a semi-government company, Roketsan. They're going to be doing more like essentially, it's not a military system, but it's going to be more expensive system. But the second one is essentially a 100% commercial company. Fergani is building a liquid-based launch vehicle, and we think that would be relatively cost-effective, and that's what we're really pushing on. What else I've learned over the years, over the course of last year, in the launch business is launch vehicles are there. We don't have a shortage of launch vehicles. What we really have a shortage of is globally launch sites. There are not as many sites as we wish to launch these rockets. That's what I learned. So Turkey is investing in building also launch sites in a very, very desirable locations, I should say, close to the equator, really nice range safety. And we like to have that essentially place, launch site, launch pad, available to all commercial entities so that they can come over and launch, and we're going to open up to the entire world if we can. So that's the launch business. Once we reach space, what is the next big thing? The next big thing is called, that's essentially a term, which is, I think is a good term. It's called the dynamic space operations. That is essentially all the things you do in space once you reach there. That's essentially taking your satellite from orbit A to orbit B, refueling your satellite, servicing it, and eventually killing it once you're done with your mission. So the whole life cycle is essentially essential there. So dynamic operations is very important commercially, and it's also very important militarily. People are talking about essentially, dogfights in space with satellites. So that's going to happen, in my opinion. People are talking about that. So to achieve that, what you need is essentially propulsion. Propulsion is the key for dynamic operations in space because there's energetic maneuvers, right? So propulsion has been on our horizon for the last 8 years in Turkey. We've been developing in-space propulsion technologies. That's including monopropellants and also what we call hybrid rocket propulsion technologies, which actually allows us essentially to do these things cost effectively. So that's what's happening. In fact, there's a company in Turkey, Delta V, which is I was involved in founding, developed the technology, but Fergani company is actually building what we call the space tugs. The satellites will be essentially transferred using space tugs. In fact, the first launch of the first space tug of Fergani will be essentially this year. In October this year will be launched in space. That's going to be a very large and capable system that's going to take our satellite from 500 kilometers to 1,000 kilometers, okay? So the third thing is constellations. That is huge. As I told you, there are 100 constellation, more than 100 constellation projects. And we think that navigation is going to be the key because communication is very crowded, overcrowded field. Navigation is important, especially LEO navigation. The advantage of LEO navigation is strong signals, essentially easy access to that orbit, plus low lifetime of the satellite is an advantage because you can replace your technology base quickly. So that we think is an important technology area. And Fergani company is also building a constellation in LEO. But instead of going to 500 kilometers, we like to go to 2,000 kilometers and beyond. A couple of reasons for that. The first one is that part of space is empty. Okay, that's a huge reason. But there's a second reason, which is you need less satellites to achieve the same mission, right? So that is why we're actually targeting that altitude. And how do we get there? Using our own space tugs or orbital transfer vehicles. So that actually gives us a competitive advantage right there. And then, obviously, once you are there, right, the next thing you want to do is essentially do things in space, and that is done typically with space stations, right? There are a lot of commercial space station projects there, and as Turkey, we're actually talking to a lot of these companies. We're in touch with these companies, and if something happens in that area in terms of manufacturing in space, data centers, whatever that might be, Turkey should be essentially in the essential leading edge of that technology. And then the moon, that's a huge thing for us because when it comes to space exploration, the obvious target is the moon, right? Because it's close. I mean, people ask, why not Mars? To me, all the time, I'm a propulsion guy. To get to the Mars, it takes you 9 months with Hofmann transfer, right? So we can't really afford that. We can't make people live 9 months. But 3 days of trip to the moon is very easy. So moon is a very, very meaningful target for us. In fact, Turkey has a lunar project that we're essentially pushing right now. We're going to be doing a hard landing, and then we're going to have soft landing missions. And on the surface, lunar surface technology is an important area that we really want to get into. That includes logistics, moving stuff on the moon surface. That is essentially talking about communications and navigation, that kind of things. Anyway, Turkey is actually relatively new in the space field. We started our journey in 1990s. Our agency was founded in 2018. But new space actually allows us actually to get into the space field. So that's an important aspect for us. So we don't want to miss the train on that. So why do we think that we have a chance? Because Turkey has essentially have a relatively large industrial base, a very dynamic young population, and strong defense industry, which actually really supports the space industry quite well. Okay, so that's why we think that Turkey may very well have a chance to essentially get into that. And we think that to achieve that, what we need to do in Turkey is essentially to start small young companies with young people, dynamic companies, and integrate them to the space, to the world, essentially, the space world. So that's what we're going to try to do. And to achieve that, what is the best solution? Best solution is IAC 2006, which is Antalya, because that's going to give us all the exposure and all the motivation for the young people. And so we're really, really looking forward to that. And with that, thank you for your patience. I'm a scientist, so I talked a lot of technical stuff. My apologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Karaberoğlu, for covering all aspects and general overview like indigenous capability, space station, propulsion technologies. And now moving along to our next speaker, Mr. Samadin Asadov. Mr. Asadov, you hosted IAC 2023. How has hosting IAC 2023 contributed to your country's space ecosystem, I want to ask, and to what extent did it meet your strategic expectations and long-term goals?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues. It's very good to be here with you. I'm very happy, and big thanks to the Turkey Space Agency for kind invitation to attend this panel. It was said that hosting the IC is a big commitment, but I also can note that it fully, 100% pays off all the efforts you put before. Yes, almost a year and a half past Baku IAC, but still there are people approaching myself, my former team members, greeting us, saying good words about Baku IAC, sharing their memories. And it really makes a person very happy, very proud of himself, proud of his country, proud of his team. From that perspective, I'll touch a couple of points, how IAC in Baku impacted both space ecosystem as well as socio-economic life of Azerbaijani citizens. I think one of the most important note is that The IEF is the very best platform for cooperation, for advancing the cooperation or collaboration. And if the country is seeking, is very much interested and serious in the development of the space domain in in the country and seeking for the cooperation, IEC is one of the best options to go with, and it really helps the governments and countries to promote their ideas, their thoughts, their plans, to promote their agencies' strategies. And from that point of view, it helped Azerbaijan a lot, and I can now proudly say that Azerbaijan has become one of the credible partner and respectful partner in the space domain. Hosting the IC is a big endeavor, is a big journey, of course, and during this journey, lots of government bodies, different types of government bodies, as well as parliamentarian or ministerial attendees is kind of engaged. And now here in Azerbaijan, we have a very good relationship with the parliament, at least as with the government. And from time to time, I'm seeing the parliamentarians are talking about the space, about the importance of the space, and about importance of allocating funds to the development of the space, as well as it creates a big awareness in the government as well. In Azerbaijan, we adopted the national law of space activities, which opened the doors to the private-public partnership in the space domain, as well as we were able to soften the licensing, regulation, all the policies and procedures. And now we are seeing small private industries working and starting and flourishing in Azerbaijan. As well as Azerbaijan government already allocated 200 million euros in continuation of the Earth observation program, as well as is planning to invest in the space in the coming 5 years up until 2030. So this is how IAC impacted the overall awareness, overall interest, both in the government and in the parliament to this domain. The second probably is that it's a big conference, and it creates a lot of noise, a lot of good noise in the country. Even the year after, the TV media talked and still is talking about the space, about the space activities. It helps space agencies and space industry a lot. In Azerbaijan, for instance, different economic sectors has started to use the space, the services and technologies from the space. I mean, they become more interested, they become more aware how they can benefit, whether it is agriculture, mining, even insurance, etc. They started to use the space services, so it really created kind of a good opportunity for commercial activities as well as ecosystem development. I think the most important thing that I can note is the IAC is impacting the life of the young people, young generation, students, school children. The very interesting fact is that Azerbaijani young students started to write scientific papers, and it's almost 30 years that Azerbaijan is in the very top ranking of the abstracts. I'm working, Christian, by the way. I'm working to increase the level of the quality of the but they think that it's an open platform and everyone can apply or upload their abstracts. It's hard to to work with each and everyone, but since the scientific papers here at the IAC is also kind of shared or put in the Scopus or Google Scholar system. Let me tell you one interesting fact is that Ministry of Education yearly in Azerbaijan shares the trend of the Azerbaijani young people's or Azerbaijanis scientific papers in the Scopus system or the Google. It has increased dramatically, and I know that it's because of the IEC. It's very good that young generation started to think about the space, whether they write something or doing something. It's much better instead of sitting at their sofas and taking their time at the social platforms. If they started to think about the space, it is what that IEC has bring to the life of the young people. I can definitely say that there are certain countries that initiating the astronaut programs for promoting the space. It gives a lot of the interest to the young people, and I am sure that IEC is comparable to that level and create that much noise. In Azerbaijan Space Agency, we initiated a program called Space Academy, where now they have almost 15 different projects, starting from the primary first school up until the master degree level of education. Azerbaijani school children now developing or making the model spacecrafts. In the curriculum of the STEM education now includes the spacecraft manufacturing. Students now very much interested in working in the aerospace sector, and the number of the students applying to the technical engineering faculties have dramatically increased. So this is what IEC really bringing. When I remember 2019 when Azerbaijan was selected, Baku was selected as a place for the IEC. By that time, we were thinking, let's make the IEC second time after 50 years in Baku city. And thanks to the General Assembly, the IEF community, they agreed they agreed Baku to host the second IEC. But by that time, I can 100% pretty much sure that we were never thinking what kind of results or good results IEC can bring, and I'm sure that the same kind of socio-economic and educational impacts it's bringing to each and every country. I'm wishing all the best to the Turkey Space Agency with their Antalya conference. I have spent a couple of family vacations in Antalya before. For 2026, I am scheduling my family vacation right the week after the IEC, and this is the best place, one of the best places for IEC. Big luck, and I wish you good luck to you with the IEC Antalya. Thank you.
Thank you for valuable contribution, Mr. Asado. You mentioned about the importance of IEF cooperation as a supporter, and also you said that with IAC, the investment on space sector increased in your country, and also knowledge about space increased. And also space technology privileged, it's also important. And you mentioned about one of the most important thing about young generations, about space. Thank you for your contribution. And now Mr. Yusuf Kıraç, My question is, what benefits will IAC 2026 bring to Turkey's national space program and space ecosystem?
Thank you, Emin Hanım. First of all, I would like to thank the IAF management for this opportunity. Actually, most risky things is to be last session and last speakers, because I know everybody now wants to go to the eating something in the home. So I will not bore you. Today I will mention philosophy, history, and geography, and of course is related with the space. As you know, Turkey is the bridge between the two continents, Europe and Asia. So the Asia side we call the Anatolia. Anatolia has got the many ancient civilizations. And the famous philosopher, thinker. Today I mentioned one of them. It's very, very important for the space studies. I don't know, is there anybody in the room? Do you heard before the Lucianos? Is anybody Lucianos? Do you heard? Good. Lucianus lived the 2nd century AD, after the Christ. He lived in the the east of the Turkey, Adıyaman. It's called the Samsatlı Lucianos. Also the Samsat is the kingdom of the Commagene. And why is the Lucianos is very famous? Because Lucianos is the fiction writer. The 2nd century, his fiction books, a true story. Please, if you find, read these books. These true story books, including space adventure. It's 2nd century. He inspired and he writes to travel to moon. And first he inspired Jules Verne. You know, Jules Verne was published at 1865. The book is The Travel to the Moon. You already know, I think many people know. And then, again, Lucianus influenced them, inspired George Lucas. You know George Lucas? George Lucas is the Star Wars series publisher, actually. So, Lucianus also affected George Lucas. So, in Turkey, I'm coming to the concept of the inspiration from the Lucianus, actually. In Turkey now, more than 20 million youth students in university and high school and the middle school, not the prime school. If you add, I think we reached 30 million youths. So now we are trying to inspire these 20 million youths in the space field. They are focused on space fields. And because the inspirations create innovations. We need innovations. In the morning to up to now, we are discussing many things. But one reality, still there is no make money in space sector. So if we don't make the money, the sustainability, the main problem, I think. So, ISC, for us, for the inspirations, the ISC is the #1 space organization in the world to inspire the strategic opportunities in the world for us. And with the Antalya, the ISC 2026, what we are supplied or youth populations actually mentioned about the 20 million, more than 20 million. First of all, the inspiration of the youth people. The second one is the foster partnership between the all research institutions and industry and international cooperations. I think the most important things is that side. So third one, the accelerate knowledge transfer and the boost domestic R&D. Professor Karabeyoğlu already mentioned in Turkey space sector work, some of them. So we still need to improve all local R&Ds. Of course, the fourth aim to after the ISCs, the global visibility and strategic diplomacy is also gaining the many experience to the people actually. Actually, 2026 is also very important for Turkey. Why? As Karabeyoğlu mentioned, Professor Karabeyoğlu mentioned, our lunar missions in Turkey National Space Program will take this year. We will send our craft this year for the hard landing actually. 2026 is also very important. And at the same year, again, we are target to sending or developing rubidium-based atomic clock this year for our developing regional positioning system actually. So 2026 Antalya is very crucial. The 2026 very crucial date for Turkey and Antalya. I don't mention about Antalya B2 actually. I hope we will show it in the Sydney, by the way. And I would like to special thanks when I finished my speech actually, because I know that you are bored very much. First of all, my brother, Samettin Asado, thank you. Every time he called us and he warned us how we make actually how we make the IEF meetings, so they give the lessons many times. I know that we will learn also from the Sydney. We are following very closely them, and we are support him every time. So I hope at 2026 we will make many things in Antalya. And the last, I think I would like to thank you for the Christian. Every time he get the advice for us, how get we make the Antalya is the best. Thank you also the Christian. Thank you very much for everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Kıraç. We have finalized our part. Thank you very much for joining our session. We are excited and enthusiastic about hosting you all in Antalya, Turkey. Thank you.